Are we recording?
I'm scared to say, oh yes, bars.
Well, that was an interesting half hour.
You and I have a different definition for interesting.
May you live in frustrating times.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. All right, well, the mics will hopefully be working. We'll cross our fingers. Otherwise, maybe we could only get 125 episodes in before having some catastrophe.
That's anyway, right. Coronavirus, murder hornets, and now mic failures.
Skype mics. I don't know. That's pretty bad. Okay, well, as you can tell from our complaining at the beginning of this episode, for some reason, our microphones are both kind of fritzing out on us, or perhaps it's the operating system, perhaps it's the Skype app. Who knows? But that was kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Okay, it's working. Don't touch it. Yeah.
All right, what is today?
Okay.
I have no idea.
Today is Wednesday because we record on Wednesday, and I have an alarm set for Wednesday night.
This is a true statement.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the 6th of May.
The days are blending, have blended.
Yeah.
Quite well. They're going fast too. Oh man, are they going fast? It's kind of frustrating in some ways, and I don't know what to say. Try not to work for like 15 hours a day. That's what I say.
Moving on.
So hey, Eric, how was your weekend?
If I could remember the difference between a weekday and a weekend, what that would be like, I might have a different answer. My boy and I, he loves weather. I think I've talked about this before, but we have a weather station outside, and he's always telling me about the latest weather trends, and he's been bugging me for a while. Dad, we need to do a weather podcast. We need to do a podcast.
Okay.
And I said, sure, that's
cool people
fine.
do podcasts.
You just need to decide what you want to do, come up with a topic, and I will help you, but I'm not going to do it all for you.
Okay.
And so he finally got around to, he made notes, and we came and sat in the office next to the microphone, and we just both sat next to each other and talked to the microphone. And for 2.5 minutes, he told me all about mammatus clouds. So
I don't even know what a mammatus cloud is. Wow.
You'll have to listen to the podcast.
I bet you do. And I'll have to listen to it. Sure.
As soon as I find a place to publish it. And we got to get I forgot all the extra stuff you have to do to set up a podcast. It was 2+ years ago when we did this for mostly security. So
exactly.
There's apparently a lot of extras. So anyways.
All right. Well, I can be your beta tester.
He was excited. All right. I'll let you know when it's up somewhere.
Okay. Sounds good. That's great. So that was the big excitement of this weekend. That's cool.
I think that was this weekend. It was sometime prior to now.
Somebody
since last week.
Has no conception of when days end and days begin. Yeah.
Oh, it's late.
It is late.
I did see you. I think you tweeted something about your bees, and I was feeling bad for you, but it seemed like it turned out okay.
It was sad actually, because I thought that I had rescued and saved that the middle hive of mine, the one that I didn't have a queen, and I put a frame of eggs in there, and then when I checked a few weeks later, there were eggs all throughout the hive. I was like super excited, and then I went in this past weekend, and they were all dead, and I I don't exactly know what happened, but I suspect that they starved. And which is frustrating and is my fault if that's what happened, because there were a whole bunch of bees whose like they were clearly dead, but their heads in the cells like they were eating. But they had a couple of frames of nectar and honey still off to the sides. I thought they were, I thought they would be fine. And I wasn't feeding them because they were, I had been feeding them, but they had taken a lot of the, nectar down into the box. So anyway, it's my fault. I suspect it's my fault if it was starvation. And so, yeah, that was a bummer. So I took another split actually off of my, big booming hive. So I'm kind of keep whittling it down to kind of keep it from swarming, hopefully. And then tomorrow, actually, Thursday, will be 4 days. I intend to go in tomorrow late afternoon after I'm off work or take a break from work or something. And it's supposed to be pretty warm tomorrow. And I will see which of the hives, which of the split sides has eggs in it, because eggs last for 3 days. So whichever one has eggs in it, then that's where the queen is. Because I looked for the queen, but I didn't find her. So whichever one has eggs in it, that's where the queen is. And so I will kind of keep handling that one, but then I'll leave the other one alone for a month. Let them build their own queen, build a new queen, and then hopefully survive that way. So, but that was a bummer.
Okay.
That was a bummer. We'll see. And then my other big thing this weekend was I did a bunch of wiring and some lighting, and then I installed a fan out in the tack room in the barn that I'm building. And these lights these days are super cool because they're LEDs, those round lights that sit on a ceiling. I mean, historically, those are called can lights, and they, have this big, they're called that way because they have this big can up in there that the light bulb would screw into. And then, they have these arms that go back and forth between the joists you adjust so that the can sits there. And anyway, so these days, they just have these little flat lights that just kind of poke up through a hole in the ceiling, and then a box that you wire to. And the ones I got from Lowe's they have like a dial or a switch on the side of it, and you can change the intensity of the LED, from 2500K up to 5K or something like that, or 6.5K. And so I was imagining doing all this wiring and then having one light up there that's the wrong or a different warmth, I guess is what you'd say, which would drive me absolutely insane. But anyway, but it was totally cool. And the reason I was going to say that is the best $20 I've spent in the last, I don't know, I think I bought this thing maybe a month ago, is there was this drill bit that was specifically made for cutting holes in the ceiling for the can lights. And it made short work of that. And I was trying to picture myself having to do that by hand or some other way. And I'm like, oh, that was the best $20 I have spent in, I don't know how long. Even if I never use this thing again, I got 18 ceiling holes out of it. And it was worth every dollar per hole.
Right.
Anyway. Actually, I hadn't thought about it in those terms, but still totally worth it. Anyway, I was going to say that was fun. It wasn't really fun. I spent a lot of time. I'm just slow, and it's not my day job, so to speak. And so I spent a good number of hours this weekend out there, stripping the wire, plugging it in the box, putting wiring to the next one, and it's not the sort of thing that once you've done one of them, you have to figure anything out. It just takes time. So anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my weekend. So I remember what was there because I was doing something different, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
So, all right. Well, not much else to talk about in the pre-show warm-up.
No, we've complained long enough.
Okay. People should hear us get all the yawns out before we start recording, though. That's something that I found funny, again, especially since we had a false start. All right. Yes. Yawn. Yeah. Okay.
And all the long pauses, the long pauses which get edited out are basically someone is yawning.
Totally.
All right. So follow up.
All right. Hit me with some follow up.
So we've talked a number of times about right to repair stuff and
one of my
being
favorite
able
topics.
to repair your own things. I stumbled across an article about Apple's T2 security chips and the nightmare it has created for MacBook refurbishers. Because the whole idea behind the T2 security chip and a lot of the bits and pieces that go along with that is if someone steals your MacBook, if you have it locked to your Mac account, if it ever dials home, it will say, it won't let someone else basically reformat the hard drive and run the Mac because it's in the hardware. It's locked to your account in the hardware, right? So the article talks a bit about the problem of these bulk wholesalers, bulk refurbishers that go and buy a whole ton of these from, companies as they roll, as they get new machines, they sell them off and get rid of them. And then they're basically getting these $3,000 2-year-old bricks because either the company didn't unregister it to the users or the user themselves who, turned it in or whatever, did not go through the steps. There are steps you have to go through if you want to get rid of your Mac to allow you to sell it. And Apple tells you how to do it. I mean, it's not a hidden process. But
hey, Eric.
Yeah.
Nobody reads.
Well, and this is not a new problem because I think it was 3 years ago. We had an employee. I used to work with a lot of mobile stuff, and we had an employee who all the people that I worked with would create test accounts and then lock iPads and iPhones to the test accounts, and then you were supposed to, as part of your cleanup procedure, unregister the test account, unlock the device, etc.
Mm-hmm.
You used to be able to go in there. You could go into Xcode and you could do factory resets and get them back. But then with Apple changed things so that if, because that's the same thing someone who steals the device would do. Lock the device from a hardware perspective to an account. And the employee had left the company and we couldn't get a hold of them for several months. When we finally did, they're like, I don't remember the name of the account or the password. And so we basically had a brick because Apple said, no, we can't help you. So we basically had a brick. So this is not a new problem. So I kind of can feel I'm on the fence on this one. I kind of get the argument from the one side of, hey, there needs to be some way for us to be able to unregister these legally and legitimately from people so we can either resell them, reuse them, whatever. But then the flip side is as soon as there is a tool to do that, then hackers or bad guys can do the same thing. And now you've negated your whole theft deterrent feature.
So let me ask you a question about that, though, because I don't quite remember how this works. But let's say that I sold my device and the person, but I forgot to unregister it. Person calls me up, says, hey, do you unregister? I can go to find from the cloud side and remove it. I don't have to have the device and remove it from the device itself, right?
Correct. For the most part, correct. If that user can get that device to connect to the internet or the network somehow. Right? Because if it's Wi-Fi and they have it at their own Wi-Fi hotspot, unless you can get that device to connect online somehow, you probably need an Ethernet dongle or something. It has to be able to connect to a network that it can then turn around and call home and say, give me something. Because, you can go into your iCloud settings online and your Find My devices and say factory reset or remove this device. And, you should be able to do that remotely on your side. Then the trick will be the person who has the device needs to have that connect online somehow so that it can receive that message that it now should, remove itself and unlock itself. Okay. So, So technically you can.
So but you do have to remember the username and password or recover the test
if it's your personal account, that's one thing. It's different if you're a company or you're a reseller or, this is now passed through 3 different hands and you have no clue who the actual original owner is.
Sure.
So anyways, just something to think about if you are thinking about purchasing a used Mac or selling a used Mac. Make sure you're...
Good call. Especially on the purchase side. I mean, obviously, be good on the sell side too, but the last thing that you as a person would want is buy a $3,000 brick.
Yeah.
That would be that would be painful.
So there you go.
So I saw that you put a breach of the weekend, but I couldn't resist putting one in too. Why don't you go first? Tell me the GoDaddy.
So the breach of the week one, the note I saw, and this one I'm not sure what this actually means. It wasn't very clear. Anyways, it was GoDaddy had SSH login details compromised. And the statement from GoDaddy was, on April 23rd, 2020, we identified SSH usernames and passwords had been compromised through an altered SSH file in our hosting environment. This affected approximately 28,000 customers. So I'm not sure what that means, because GoDaddy also said it was only that limited set of customers, and it was no account information or credit card or anything like that was taken. So at least in my head, I'm thinking, so maybe it was a user, because a lot of those things are shared hosts, right? So somehow they got privilege escalation, went and modified the master SSH file or some SSH config file that then turned around and gave them access to everybody who shared that host or that set of hosts environments. But I'm not. It wasn't clear to me what could have happened there.
Yeah.
But anyways,
altered SSH file. Well, maybe there'll be RCA.
Yeah. All right, what was yours?
Mine was ZDNet, good old Catalan again, for details of 44 million Pakistani mobile users leaked online. This says that it was evidently like a month or so ago, somebody was trying to sell a package of 115 million Pakistani mobile accounts for $2.1 million, which is it's a lot of
Bitcoin
money, but not on a per account basis, really. So, somehow ZDNet got their hands on both of these files, and they confirmed that the 44 million that was put online today, I think it was today, is the same, or is a subset of the ones that was attempting to be sold last month. But there is a lot of personally identifiable information in there, and obviously since it's a mobile phone breach, says telephony related information. But so names, home addresses, national identification numbers, CNIC, I guess, is the number for Pakistan. Mobile number, land number, and subscription dates. So pretty big breach. Doesn't say anything about passwords or anything like that, which is good. But the other thing that I pulled out of this one was that this doesn't make any sense. So I copy and pasted this sentence out, but it says, based on the dates of subscription, the oldest entries in the leaked files are from the late 2013, suggesting hackers either got their hands on an older backup file or the breach took place in 2013 and only now surfaced online. I would think that should say the newest entries in the leaked files are from 2013 if you think that it was from a backup from 2013. So
yeah,
maybe I'm...
No, I read that because you have that in the notes. I read that too, and I was like, that doesn't parse.
Yeah, exactly. Got a minus sign wrong there. But for the purposes of this podcast, it looks like this is a relative, like the breach is relatively old, 7 years ago, but hasn't been released to date, or it was like they said, a backup file that they've recently broken into. But 44 million Pakistani users.
Yikes.
That's my breach of the week. So,
alrighty.
All right. How about a topic? What'd you bring me tonight?
So the one that caught my eye is a Roblox. I don't know if you call it a breach or a hack. And this caught my eye because I remember years ago when my boy was a lot younger, in the 7-8-year-old range, Roblox was all the rage among him and his friends. And apparently, and so I haven't really given Roblox two thought since, but the interesting thing about this breach was that apparently a hacker bribed a Roblox worker to gain access to back-end customer support panel and information, and gave them the ability to look up all the personal information of 100 million active monthly users.
Holy moly.
And grant themselves virtual in-game currency. Which I did not realize Roblox was that big and popular. But apparently...
I know that my boys both played it at some point in time. They weren't really into it. Like I've seen a number of comments around, but they definitely played it. 100 million active users, monthly active users, you said, right?
Yeah, that's what it said in the article. So this one was, so, the hacker provided, apparently a bunch of screenshots to prove that they had done what they did to the author of the article. And one, apparently as well, whatever they had done, they attempted to claim a bug bounty from Roblox.
What?
And for the hack. And I don't know what he actually claimed. I have no idea. But anyways, Roblox reviewed it and said, no, that's not something we pay for. He tried to do that and was denied his thing. So then that's why he, I guess, started publishing stuff online about it. So the real kicker there too is, even though you may be doing everything in your ability to have two-factor authentication or good high quality passwords, there still is ways people can get around that if they're ambitious and if there is someone on the inside that has less morals than they should. It's like the sim swap game.
Insider threat.
Yeah, the insider threat. So the other thing that kind of gave me a little bit of the willies, I don't know what's the right thing about this one, is I thought Roblox was heavily weighted towards younger users.
Yeah.
Like that, pre-teenage age users, which if there is information and you have full access to that information of pre-teenage users, that also, I don't know, makes it a little bit, not a little bit. That makes it scary. So, anyways, that was what ran across my view this week, was the insider threat issue.
Yeah. So I was skimming the article there. Why would you think that you could get a bug bounty for social engineering thing? I don't know. That seems kind of weird. All right. Well, I have I have I have one of my 1.5 topics at the moment. So I'm gonna give you the 0.5 first, which is, and I'm calling it 0.5 because I guess I don't know what the resolution was, but I noticed earlier today there's a bunch of info about Spotify and a bunch of apps crashing on mobile phones. And in particular, so I went to Y Combinator, news.ycombinator.com, which is a kind of a nerd site, nerd chat forum, and it was the number one link on there. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Let me see what it is. And they have a link to the actual issue, which I'll talk about in a second. But then I scrolled through this discussion here, and I couldn't find anything about the bug itself here. Like there was, I challenge you to scroll through here and see any bit of the discussion that is about the bug. It's all about the fact that including the Facebook SDK in your mobile app is just spyware. Is this spyware?
Yes, of course it
absolutely. Yes, totally is. Why would anybody do this? And then remember I had used that Upton Sinclair quote the other day? Yes, it is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on, like that's up at the top,
exactly.
Just barely below the fold. Anyway, people saying what would Facebook have anything to do with the Spotify app? Oh, child, I'm so sorry. Anyway, so
what would be great?
What would be
great? If people said, you know what, maybe we should stop using Facebook if they're going to crash my app.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. They fixed it. They need the
ad money.
I think they fixed it. Yeah. Well, it's not even ad money for this, right? This is free analytics. Is it okay for me to get free analytics so long as I also give a bunch of data to Facebook? Well,
right.
You did say free analytics, right?
Yeah.
Okay then. So anyway, so the other, so like I said, this is the 0.5 because I don't know what the actual issue was. I saw stuff in here in the issue thread about the fact that it was fixed and that some server side, the only thing I saw in here at all about what the actual issue was that some server side check-in was rolled back. But anyway, I didn't see anything. There'll probably be a root cause analysis, but I thought there were just a couple of funny things in here as I just scrolled through the comments a little bit. And so I'll put the link to the GitHub issue page here, but the bug reporter expected results. What do you expect to happen? I would like FBSDK, the Facebook SDK, to not crash. What actually happened? Facebook SDK is crashing at large volume. What do you want to achieve? We're using Facebook SDK in our app as an authentication option. What are the steps necessary to reproduce? Not sure yet, but it's happening at high volume in the field. And then they've got stack traces, and then other people are coming in saying, yes, we've got the same stack trace. It's crashing. Large spike of crashes in the past 2 hours with the same stack trace, blah, 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 blah. Lots of things. And then, so the other funny thing Lucas TL, or maybe that's a TI. Sorry, I don't know if that's a capital I or a lowercase l. And it says, we are also affected by this. Please move slower and break fewer things. Thank you.
Scroll. It's fun. I like the way, don't fire the intern. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I have not noticed on any of the apps that I use? Crashing. Apparently, I don't use any apps or have not used any apps in the in the last day or so that
use Facebook.
Use the Facebook SDK. So that's actually a positive indicator for me, I suppose.
It certainly you can brush off your shoulder and go, good job, Eric.
That's right.
Yeah. As opposed to this is insane. Half the apps on my phone aren't launching. Okay.
I wonder if Facebook app itself was broken. I'm going to guess no.
Not dog fooding it is your thing. Okay.
Because it's the third party SDK. Facebook's not a third party. They're a first party. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right. That's
so the one other comment in here I thought was funny was oh, come on. So you'll remember what song. Why can I not? I can hear the song in my head, but it's a 2-line comment. Every app you run, I'll be watching you.
Oh, the police.
Police. I was going to say Sting. But okay. Yeah. Every breath you take.
Every move app you make.
Every app you run, I'll be watching you. New Facebook. Okay. Anyway, so that was my 0.5. My other one that I thought was interesting was I saw this afternoon too, but it was hackers hide a web skimmer behind a website's favicon. Do you say favicon or favicon? Favicon.
I say favicon, but
okay.
Favico.
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 Anyway.
Favico.
So this was interesting because they set up a whole spoofed icon hosting website and clearly got people to use it. And then, so it was the quote in here was, the hacker group created a fake icons hosting website in order to disguise malicious code meant to steal payment card data from hacked websites. So they took a duplicate. So this is kind of one of the punchlines down here, that it wasn't an original icon hosting site. It was a clone of, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, it said it was actually a clone of the legitimate iconarchive.com portal. But essentially, it would...
Oh my goodness.
It would serve up all the icons perfectly happily as they were, unless it was like a checkout form on the page, in which case, instead of a favicon, it would serve up a malicious JavaScript and would steal whatever was filed in the form. Not filed, whatever was filled in the form. So, a little tricky. So let's see. Because if you went and you looked at any traffic, everything would be fine. Everything would be fine until you actually went to check out, and then they would replace it.
I would just like to say that malicious JavaScript is redundant.
Is it the means or the end? Does the end justify the means? Poor Eric.
I'm just mean in the end.
Do you have to use anyway? So anyway, I thought this was something I thought was worth pulling out just because of the cleverness, I guess.
The tricky way to throw that one through, to sneak that one through. Yeah. Alrighty.
I gotta say, I don't quite know how. I'd want to. I need to actually look at it a little bit in closer detail because I don't quite get how they're getting the JavaScript to execute. But anyway, that was my topic. So check it out. I'll throw the link in the show notes here. How about something fun? What do you got for me tonight?
So my something fun I have had and have forgotten to talk about for like a month now. Okay. Although I feel like I have mentioned it, and what's going to be really bad is if I go back and find out that I actually did this as something fun a month ago. But my something fun is PI-TIMOLO, which stands for Raspberry Pi Time-Lapse Motion and Low Light. It is old. I actually stumbled across this from an Adafruit blog in 2017. But recently, my boy, who I had mentioned loves the weather thing, we have been using this app on a Raspberry Pi with a Pi camera to take pictures to do time-lapse pictures during the day. And we can watch the clouds move across the sky. Tonight, I think, is the first night in a while that it'll actually be clear. Mm-hmm. And so we have it kicked off and it's pointed kind of up at the sky to track stars. And it does a really good job of keeping the shutter open and allowing the low light capabilities to go through. So it does anyways, it's great. It's free on GitHub. There's a bunch of YouTube videos that say how to use it. It is configurable to the nines. It's probably only slightly less configurable than AWS and IAM. It has switches and knobs for everything. And it's inactive. I mean, the last check-in was, I think, a couple months ago. So it's actively being updated and tweaked, and it's actually really cool. So if you have a Raspberry Pi and the Pi camera that you can get with it, which, side note, Raspberry Pi just came out with a new Pi camera, which apparently is super awesome. Ooh. I don't have that one yet. But if you want to figure out how to do time-lapse photography, this would be a very inexpensive way to make really cool time-lapse photography. It's got all the tools for doing it. Very simple. Okay. Yeah, I need to get off it's not like I need to get off my butt. It's not like I don't work a lot and I'm not working on all these things. But one of the things that is totally broken in my life, and I'm not sure who broke it, but I'm going to blame the goats. It's always the goats. So I set up, I might have mentioned this on the podcast, but if I did, it was like a year and a half ago. I set up a long time ago a Pi camera out my back porch to take pictures of the sunrise. And I wrote a Python script. I don't remember. Did I mention that on the podcast? I don't. But it has been like not working for probably 9 months at this point. Because I remember last fall it broke. Or not broke, but my power outlets no longer work out on the back porch. And how did the goats come into this? Well, there's dug under the pit, under the trench, and there's a little riser box inside the pasture, just on the outside of our back fence. That is where the goats are. And I've been blaming that box for a long time, but I need to just take a tester and like get on the phone with, one of my sons or my wife who was in the garage to like flip the breaker for me or something like that and let me,
flip the breaker off, disconnect the plug, see if that continues to trip the breaker. Anyway, I don't know. I need to do some electrical debugging on that. But I totally set that up specifically to do time lapses that I thought would be really cool. And my intent was to let it run for a year and then gather the sunrises over the course of the year and do like one of those, it's not called a time lapse, but I wrote the Python script, and there's a Python library that lets you choose the time, like based on the sunrise time. So I would take a picture every 5 minutes from like a half hour before sunrise to a half hour after sunrise was my intent. And then I mounted my, I have a network attached storage device down here in my office. And so it's kind of cool, but since they're on the Wi-Fi network, I just mount a drive in, at boot up off of my, I have a QNAP, which we've talked about on the show before. So I mount the drive from my QNAP, and then I, wrote the script, had a cron job, blah, 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 take the pictures, move them to a folder. It worked great for a number of months, and then it's been broken for a while. I need to fix that. It's one of those things that is a splinter in the finger of my life, and I should probably go get a pair of tweezers.
This would be a perfect set of tweezers. In the amount of time it took you to talk about your old problem, you could have had this up and running. Yeah, okay. But and if there's a better camera too, that would be cool, because the pictures were great, but they weren't great. And there's since I set that up, there's been a new Pi release, evidently the new camera release. I should so many projects and so much fun stuff. If only there were like 43 hours a day. That would be cool. Okay, so speaking of fun stuff, my fun thing is, I know that we talked about my 3D printer that I've been printing with for the last, I think we did. Didn't we talk about that on the podcast? Yep. Okay, good. Thank you. Sorry, old man syndrome. So I thought that my something fun tonight would be a Patreon that I am supporting called Artisan Guild. That they do basically Dungeons and Dragons miniatures. I recognize these pieces. From the ones that I've been printing, or just that you've seen them online? The style, I suppose. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. I mean, it's really cheap, actually. I guess depending on your definition of cheap, but you for a $10 a month support of them, they give you access once a month to a full set of miniatures for some thing. So this month for May, it's this a clan of orcs, basically. So there's a bunch of orcs, and there's like the trooper models, and then there's one or two bigger models in the set. So like there's a big orc shaman in this, or a mad mage, and the king that's on a big wolf hound of some sort. So it looks kind of more like a Chinese dragon than a wolf hound. But anyway, they're really cool. Last month was they call them Jurikins, but they're basically water creatures, and it was really cool. And so I've been supporting them for a couple months, and I've been printing a whole heck of a lot of their stuff. And the boys have been I'm doing most of the stuff on it, but then they're taking and painting them, and it's kind of really cool. But so these guys do good work, and it's something that's kind of cool. I don't know. I'm not a fan of all the models, let's say, but I think a lot of these are marketed to teenage boys. We'll leave it at that. Yeah. No need to explain what that means. Yeah. But
we live in that world still. It's getting better. Anyway, but overall, very cool, and I heartily recommend.
I wonder if this is a burgeoning market for creators.
We were just talking about that as a family, or at least as part of the family the other night, because yeah, I mean, if you are artistic, and I know that you have some artists in your family, and to a certain extent, clearly this is going to be a hit-based thing. But if you're able to do something every month and get 1,000 people to pay you $5 a month, that's pretty decent living, right? I mean, these guys, and I've seen some other sets, by the way, too. These aren't the only ones I'm subscribed to. They have 5,600 patrons. So
wow,
that's 60 grand a month for a dozen or so models a month. Which, I mean, clearly there's a lot of work that goes in. I don't think one person could put out all of these things every month,
right? But
60 grand a month, even after you take out whatever Patreon takes, which I don't even know what their percentage is. I mean, that's not too shabby. Good for them.
No.
And
yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I was just curious because, you mentioned daughter number one is the artist of the family, and she's doing a lot of 3D design of characters and whatnot. Mostly she doodles and draws on an iPad, but for school and for what I think she wants to do as a career, what she's interested in is character design. And if this could be a way to, I wonder if she's actually thought about this as not necessarily Patreon in general, but just the creating something that someone could then go 3D print. Because she already sells some of her art in various online places. Uh-huh. So I wonder if this would be if there is a place. This is Patreon, and so it's a monthly thing. But I wonder if there is a, I suppose Thingiverse, or there are places where you can go to just buy a set, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, these guys. I mean, that's the thing for this, right? Huh. These guys are. Let's see. If you're a patron or a patron of theirs, you get the set for that month. But after the end of the month, it's gone from here. But it is up on, let's see, what is it called? It's like MyMiniFactory.com. So in MyMiniFactory.com, every one of the pieces is purchasable. The models are purchasable for
separately,
individually. So, and they're not. I mean, depending on what you're trying to get, like the big bosses go for $15 or $20, and the little ones are like $4 for the model. But I mean, I don't. So yeah, you're building up a recurring revenue stream, I presume, because once you've built the set, and it's really cool, and they've got hundreds. Well, I'm looking at their MyMiniFactory.com, which I'll throw in the show notes here, and they've got 190 objects out here in this. So that that's. I think that this is new as of the last, say, 6 months. Like, I want to say that this is like, I think they did a Kickstarter maybe 6 months ago or something.
Right.
But it's definitely anyway, I think it's really cool, and
interesting.
It is very. It's maybe get on the groundish floor.
So you can buy designs that people have done and print them yourself. That's the whole point of this.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Well, and for the Patreon, I guess I should say, they have different levels of Patreon. But one of the limited levels, I think they only allow 100 of them, is more expensive, but not crazy expensive. It's like $50 a month or some higher than 10 give you the right to sell what you print. They don't give you a right to sell the model, the STL file, but you can, if you're a small game, company, like in our area, there's Rainy Day Games, which is, not too far away.
Yeah.
But, Rainy Day Games could have, I know, because I've given them probably a couple $100 worth of money to buy minis that are printed elsewhere. But as a small business, you could certainly come in and have somebody check, choose from something to print and then say, all right, come back tomorrow and it'll be printed.
Cool.
Anyway, but yeah, it's a whole little subculture. I don't
know why I'm surprised this exists. It just seems obvious now.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm actually supporting a couple of these guys because it seems like, sorry, this is like going on way, way, way too long. But one of the things about printing, at least, no, you have to do this with the FDM printers too, but you have to support the models, right?
Right.
And so I've downloaded a couple things off of Thingiverse and off of some other places, and doing supports is not trivial. And the auto support, at least if you want it to not suck, isn't great, at least in the software that I've been playing with. And so one of the things that you get as a patron, is pre-supported models. So it literally is, and they've tested it all, which makes total sense because I have literally spent 2 hours like playing around trying to get all the supports right. Oh my gosh, if I could pay $10 if it's something I really wanted to not spend 2 hours, it's probably a good use of my money. Unless I'm really enjoying something. And let me tell you, by the end of 2 hours, I was not enjoying what I was doing. So anyway, so it's totally cool. So yeah, you get basically, it was basically like a gigabyte of each month of models, all pre-supported, and yeah.
Cool.
It's cool. Anyway, there's my something fun. I don't know what I'm going to be able to cut out of that because that went on too long.
Yeah, sorry, that kind of went long.
Sorry, everyone.
That's all good.
Go
Very cool.
Check out MyMiniFactory and Artisan Guild. So, all right.
Alrighty.
All right, let's call it a show, Eric.
All right, you're a show, Eric.
All right.
Have a good night, John.
That sounds good. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.